Hi everybody, welcome to Best of British Blackwell. It's my first video for a couple of weeks, so sorry I've been away, but I'm back. Going to make you a wonderful British beef stew with dumplings today, something that I always looked forward to on those winter evenings when I was a kid. We're going to make it in the slow cooker, so we've got all the time in the world to make this. It's going to be a really nice slow cooked dish. We're going to start off by making the basic stew and stock ingredients, and then I'm going to show you later on towards the end of the cook how you make those wonderful lovely dumplings. So come over, have a look at our ingredients and let's make a start. Okay, so we've got lots and lots of ingredients to go into here. All of them add something different to this dish. You don't want to put anything in the stew that's not going to add any flavour. First key ingredient is obviously our stewing beef. You can use braising steak. You can use any type of beef really. This is very traditional stewing steak. Just bought this from the local supermarket, about £8 worth there, £8 not in weight, in cash. There's probably about a kilo of meat there. We've got some baby new potatoes in here, which we're going to just roughly chop up and throw in there. We've got some chantenay carrots, which are going to go in there. We've got some frozen peas, which we're not going to add just yet. We're going to add that later, otherwise they'll just kind of disintegrate. We've got some leeks, also a leek. We've got a couple of parsnips. We've got some onion there. We've got some herbs. We've got some thyme and some parsley. Key ingredient now, over to the wet ingredients, is going to be the stock. This is a very basic beef stock made using some OXO cubes. And then to that, to flavour our stock, what we're going to add is some mushroom ketchup there, which I will show you. And then we've also got some anchovy sauce there as well. Only tiny amounts of these because they're quite strong. We've got some Worcester sauce and some liquid seasoning. And finally, again, towards the end, for sweetness, we just add a little bit of ketchup. I will show you each stage as we add bits and pieces. First, we're going to roughly chop some of this veg up, get it into the slow cooker and actually start this cooking process. So now our veg is chopped. As you can see, I've not finely chopped this stuff. It's really roughly chopped, and there does look to be a lot of veg here. There is. Really, what you find with this is that it will all kind of shrink down a little bit and give out its moisture and just add to the lovely flavour of the stock in there. Also, whenever you make a stew like this, you know, after a couple of days it just gets better and better in taste, so you do want to be able to keep hold of it for a little while, you know, and use it, take it in for lunch the next day. It's not worth making a tiny amount. If you're going to make one, make a big one. So all our veg is nicely chopped. We've got our carrots, our onions, our leeks, parsnips and potatoes, and we're going to get them straight into our stewing pot. And as you can see, I've got my slow cooking stewing pot here. These things are absolutely blinding for this time of year, and it's absolutely icy cold outside. You know, you get all your ingredients in first thing in the morning before you leave for work, whack it on low, and by the time you come back, your dinner's ready. You know, really can't beat it. Really would advise anyone who hasn't got one of these to get hold of one. Get your veg in there, so you can have a good look. Give it a little throw around so it mixes up quite nicely. At this stage, what we're going to add into here is a little bit of seasoning. So we're going to get some liquid seasoning in here over our veg. We're going to get some Worcester sauce in there as well. Lovely jubbly. We're going to throw some mushroom ketchup in there. Really starting to smell nice already, actually. But obviously, got a good few hours to go yet before this is going to be ready. And our anchovy sauce in there as well. Not too much of that because that's very strong. Now what we do is we add our beef in here. Just let the beef sit on the top, let the veg sit on the bottom. You are going to be stirring this at some stage, but just not yet. Then finally, we're going to add our stock into this. And what you're looking to do is just add enough so that the stock just starts to come up towards covering the beef. There's not quite enough in there at the moment, so I'm going to add some more. But basically, this goes onto our slow cooker, and we're going to have this in there for about 8 hours on the medium setting, and we'll keep coming back to check and add various bits and pieces to it, like a little bit more Worcester sauce, And then towards the end, when I start to make the dumplings, I'll show you that. We're going to add our peas and add our herbs in there. That's it. See you in a few hours. Okay, so we are about 5 hours into our cook, and let me show you what this stuff looks like now. Here we go. As you can see, everything's stewed down really, really nicely, and I've got the slow cooker set to low. All of our lovely veg is still in there. You can see those lovely carrots and the beef and the onions and leeks. Okay, so now, 5 hours in, I'm going to start preparing the dumplings, but just before I do, we're going to add our peas in here. Make sure we get all of them in there. We're also going to add another splash of Worcester sauce, just to keep that nice and fresh. And we're also going to add a little glug of tomato ketchup for just a little bit of sweetness. You're going to get the acidity of the onions and the leeks in there, so it's a good idea to freshen it up and sweeten it a little bit with some of that ketchup. You could use barbecue sauce as well. You're not using too much, but that's just the right amount. So last thing that we're going to do now is I've got a bunch of thyme here. Just going to sit that on the top and let that work its lovely flavour into there. We drop the spoon out, we leave it on the low setting, and we let it continue to cook for about another 3 hours. So the dumplings are really nice and easy. You get yourself some self-raising flour. This is 300 grams of self-raising flour. You add to that 150 grams of beef suet. So it's half the amount of suet to the amount of flour. So 150 grams suet, 300 grams of flour. And then in here we've got some chopped parsley and some dried mixed herbs. We add that in there as well, just for a bit of flavour. And then we add about a teaspoon of salt. Now what you do is you take some water and you start to add the water gradually to the mix, giving it a good stir. You add the water gradually because you don't want it getting too wet too quickly, because then you have to add more flour, and then that starts to mess around with the ratio of suet to flour. So just add the water gradually. I always seem to make a terrible mess when I do this kind of thing, so I will apologise. A little bit more, and then will come a time where it gets to a state where you need to get your hands in there. Not just yet, but we're not far off. As you can see, the mixture starts to come together quite nicely. And I think we just need another little tiny dribble of water. I think that after that we will probably be there. Just make sure you pick up all the flour from the outside of your bowl. You don't want anything to go to waste. You've taken the time to measure the ingredients out, so you want to make sure it comes together quite nicely. And then as you can see, it's a decent consistency when it starts to get the bowl clean. And then all you have to do really, you don't have to use this immediately, all you have to do is get some clean gum, whack it over the top of the bowl, and just leave these to one side until you're ready to put them into the stew. And when they'll be ready to go into the stew is about 20 minutes before you want to serve the stew. You start to put these into little balls and put them on the top of your simmering stew pot. But I'll show you that a little bit later on. So our stew has been cooking now for about 8 hours. Everything inside this stew is completely cooked and done. The last thing that we need to do now is just add our dumplings. Now, as you can see, this is the dumpling pastry that I made earlier with the suet. What we're going to do is roughly take it into half, and half again, and half again. So I'm going to be looking to get about 8 dumplings out of here. And all you do is just roll them together into a decent ball shape and just drop them straight into your stew mix. Again, take them, roll them in your hand, drop them in. So all in all, there's going to be about 8 of these. Just drop them straight in. These will take about 20 minutes. And then what you do is you have to make sure that when you drop these into the stew is bubbling away. these will drop the temperature of the stew down. So you don't really want them to be going into a cold stew pot. They have to go into something that's quite hot, and they will take about 20 minutes. So there we go, 20 minutes in, this is going to be ready to eat. Okay, so our stew has now been in for about 8 hours, 20 minutes. Our dumplings are definitely done and we are ready to serve. So I've brought the stew pot over here. I'm going to stay focused in on this, this bowl here. First thing we're going to do is get one of those lovely dumplings straight into this pot here. I'll give you a little close up on that in a minute too. And then finally, we're going to delve right deep down into the bottom of this stew pot and pick up some of that lovely meat. So you've got the beef, the carrots, and that lovely juice in there. Make no apologies for making a mess here. Again, it's not about what it looks like, it's about what it tastes like. But there we go. Lovely bit of stew. We focus in on this dumpling a little bit, and what should happen here is on the inside just have that lovely fluffy herby dumpling in there. And then what you want to be able to do is mix everything together. Get a bit of the dumpling, a bit of the meat. Wow. Absolutely superb. Everything about it has been really well seasoned, really well marinated because it's been cooking for 8 hours. All the meat just falls apart. The dumplings are absolutely perfect. And what I like to serve it up with is a lovely bit of bread, just to make sure that when we're finished with it, we can soak up all the sauce with the bread. Get yourself a slow cooker, guys, and have a go at this. Thanks for watching.